Allow me to introduce my panelists. Please welcome on stage Mr. Derek Wamatu from IPSL in Kenya. If he has not run away. Ms. Elisangela Fonseca from Africanenda in Cabo Verde. It's also called Cape Verde in English, but they prefer to be called by their Portuguese name, which is Cabo Verde. Mr. Ali Berete from Lagim in Guinea Republic. And Promise Ishimwe from R-Switch in Rwanda. All right. So our subject today is on quality implementations. When you hear quality, which word do you add to it in a technical space? If I say quality, complete the sentence. Quality? No, what do you think naturally? Quality? Who said assurance? And so yes, that's what we normally think about when we hear quality. We hear quality assurance, which has a very software engineering leaning to it, right? And MojaLoop has that built in its processes. We know that James and Sam are custodians of the larger community as we try to build a quality software, making sure that it's fit for purpose and it ticks all the boxes. However, as we go through a scaling phase, you've heard the numbers we're talking about now, moving from 1 implementation to 2 to 13 active implementations that are ongoing. Then we start focusing on what's the quality of those implementations. Because now we have a software that's working, but how do we define quality in that, and how do we ensure that quality is maintained across the whole life cycle, if you can call it that, of MojaLoop, not just as a piece of software, but as a product that's being adopted by adopters, as a product that's being consumed by customers out on the streets, even if they don't know they're using it. How do we implement it in a quality way? And so these wonderful people are going to help us answer those 4 questions that are just going to come up next. So in looking at quality, the first thing we want to look at is, yes, we can have quality software, but is quality software necessarily a quality product? And in our conversation with Promise, he is the one who was very emphatic on this, that you can have quality software that's not a quality product. And so would like Promise, who is an expert in product at R-Switch, help us to answer how do we translate a quality piece of software into a quality product. Promise.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is a very good topic. I think it's good to have this opportunity to talk about it. Because for me, when you're talking about a solution, it's not only about software. There's also a product part of it. Which means for me, when you say we have a quality software, a quality solution, in my understanding, I expect you to have a very quality software and a very quality product. And what I understand by quality software is, performance, availability, reliability of part of it. But then when we come to the part of the product, I expect that solution or that piece of software to be also addressing people's problems and users' needs. Because if you spend money building a very good software and you end up without being used, you're wasting your time. Which means you have to talk about both. So there's a mistake that people like to make, even in our lives. Like you asked the question, when you ask quality, people thought about assurance. But you have realized that when we even at our switch, we've had an external QA, but when they came, they only tested the software part. They were not interested to know, okay, did the software that they built really solves the problem that we're trying to solve? But here we are seeing that the quality product is also part of it. So for me, we should also emphasize especially on the product part, especially because I've been talking to different people that have already deployed the instant payment. They were saying now the problem that we have is adoption. And the question was like, okay, why do you have the problem of adoption if you have really built a very good software? So most people have realized that they see an instant payment as just a project. Like, okay, we have a very amazing open source MojaLoop. So if we deploy it, then we have an instant payment. But we have to remember that we have different markets, we have different problems, we have even different alternatives. Because if you go to where there's no instant payment, people are trying to cover that problem or that gap with different solutions, which means even how instant payment is going to solve their problem is going to be very different. So which means for me, what I would say is that apart from focusing on good software, we already have a very good foundation in MojaLoop as an open source. We also have to understand as adopters our markets and understand the people's problems, understand the current alternatives, and actually understand exactly what you're going to build. I can give you an example because one of the things we have built on our side, also on top of MojaLoop, we have built different portals. Because one of the most important things that you can do, when people are transacting and things are going through well, they don't mind. But then when there's a query or a dispute, that's when now problems start. They were like, okay, let's see how they handle this. Even on the reconciliation part, if maybe there's some participants that are not seeing where their money is, that's where they're waiting us. So payment is also about how you handle edge cases, not only how the happy flow goes. So for me, what I can say is that apart from focusing also on the software part, we should also be able to understand exactly how the instant payment is going to address the needs on that market, especially by understanding how things are being done. That's my view on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that point will also continue to address that. But as you take this software and a product, you have to implement it. And so the implementation process is when you translate software from open source, from GitHub, into a working system. And that's part of the quality implementations, because if it's not done well, and done well meaning all the stakeholders, then there will be issues. To help us answer that is Mr. Berete. Mr. Berete is the CEO of Lagim, which is the national hub operator in Guinea. And we have been having very good conversations when we've been talking about supportive people in the community who are leading adoption. I think this gentleman is one of them. We are engaging, and you feel the support. Actually, sometimes you feel like you're the one holding them back because they are ready to go forward. And he has when we're discussing this, not to embarrass you, sir, but he started saying, what do I say? And then he told me, and by the time we're at 6th minute, his voice was up because he was so passionate about that. And I told him, please just come and say the same thing to the audience, because I think it's a very important point.
Thank you so much, as you rightly stated. But before, let me ask the audience to bear with my level of English. Is actually my third language, so that is not that strong. So I want to leverage on what Promise just has stated. The implementation quality is beyond the technical side of it. In Guinea so far, we are implementing the MojaLoop solution. We started it 2 months ago, and we plan to go live by June. In our journey, we are facing some challenges about adoption, let's say integration of DFSPs. What I noticed is that anytime I went to the meeting with the team and the integrator, I noticed that at the centralized side, at the platform side, almost everything is well done, is well set up. But at the TFSP side, there is a lot of challenges to be able to prepare their core banking systems, to prepare their infrastructure, to be able to interact with MojaLoop system. So the reality on ground is that all the DFSPs are not at the same level. Some of them can catch up quickly. Others are not able to do it as expected. And I'm asking myself, can we as a MojaLoop community go beyond and help those DFSPs like banks, which in the common countries are using almost the same core banking systems? Can we do something at our side to make it easier for those DFSPs to be able to join as much easier as possible for them to join the project? Because the delay we are facing will come from those DFSPs. The system integrator is supporting fastly. We are sharing experience with other countries, but I think the integration side has to be, addressed by MojaLoop, finding a way to help those DFSPs to go quickly in the product. Another things we have to take in consideration by looking at quality implementation is also the language issue. We are from French-speaking countries. When I look at the MojaLoop system, I look at the documentation, I look at the MojaLoop website, everything is built natively in English. Currently, for the implementation, we have started the accelerator program, but anytime I ask my people around is, we want to follow, but we can't. The courses are in English. So that can be a kind of barrier for the implementation, or at least it can delay what we are expecting and have negative impact on the plan. So let me put it here first. That's from my position as a manager, when I look at it, that's the common issues we are facing which can affect the quality of the implementation or delay it and have negative impact on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Berete has raised the question of language twice. Now, if I wasn't in this, I would be an activist with Manila papers saying haki yetu as we do in Kenya. So you notice this panel has the 3 major spoken languages in Africa: Portuguese, French, and English. This is a challenge to us to include these people and to have the right language in the software so that everybody in the country can participate. I know Elizangela is going to start by apologizing for her language. She will still do even if I told her not to. But my point when we're discussing this is MojaLoop is for this continent. We don't have to apologize for our language, do we? The software can adapt to our language so that every engineer in rural Senegal, in Mozambique, in South Africa, can actually feel invited into the community. Guys, I'm not getting a hey. Seriously. Thank you so much. But it's really something, because we are doing accelerators and we are having to translate content and find a way to communicate further than the materials we have. And the foundation will take note of this. But even the SIs, ideally, we can provide solutions for this. And I think now there are tools to do that. Moving on. So you do have a quality software that has come from James and Sam's kitchen that you have translated into a product, you understand the needs, and you have implemented it well. But if you make very good food and you keep it in the kitchen, it doesn't benefit anybody. So how does this go out to the market? How does a quality implementation at the hub operator translate into a useful product? Because at the end of the day, we want to transform what happens out on the streets. It's not in our data centers. Those are just avenues. We want people to be able to use it, to know that it's there. And to help us with that is Derek Wamatu. Derek has been an engineer, but he's been taking a very frontline role in IPSL Kenya, trying to see how the hub operator really translates into market demands, into what the industry and the people are asking for. And he has some good ideas to share with us. Quality in the rollout of the product to the masses.
Thanks, Tulo. I just want to speak first to my colleague. He said it is his third language, and he was more articulate than me. However, when it comes to the question at hand, in the beginning of 2020, in the tail end of 2024, 2025, and this year, I've transitioned more from being solely software engineering to more multiple hats, where I wear a commercial hat and also wear a product hat. And in that transition has made me analyze or see things in a different light. The evolution of a software engineer is one, you're worried about the syntax, the complexity, the quality assurance of every software you release. But sometimes you miss some important information. And then my evolution now has gone into worrying about does the product fit the market at hand? Do our existing product make sense? So in my experience currently, we started some few initiatives in 2025, and I was working with a few players in the market that were left behind. And what we have done is, based on our current account-to-account transfer, we started looking at, could there be pockets of people who were left behind? And can we work together to grow the numbers? And in the course of the year, one of the players we worked with closely were money market funds. So what we have today in a money market funds, you request funds, you receive the funds 3 days later. Or you receive a small amount via Momo, mobile money. And we worked with these players so you can still use us to do instant payments or instant transfers from your collective investments. And we won. And that's how my commercial hat was put into play. Now, every conversation I'm having with all the players, I'm looking at players in the stable coins space. How can we work together to layer on top of account-to-account transfers onto our current ecosystem? So the quality of a product, yes, you can build something, or you can look at something already built and find out the areas or opportunities that have been left behind, and you work with players who have been left behind and build something that the market needs. So the validation depends on engagements, not just looking at the software. That has been my experience the last 2 years, and I'm enjoying it.
So just to follow up on that, you suggest that once you have finished the product, ideally your deployment and you have a working switch, there is still space to go out and see how it can integrate with other services, how it can plug into what the market wants, and how those can use the rails provided by MojaLoop to continue transforming what they do.
Whatever you said is absolutely correct, but I'll just want to pull back. Not after deployment, but during event development. Do not build in isolation. Engage, have a few players testing, playing with whatever you're working with, or even poking holes in the ideas or the solutions you're building. Right now, the age of AI, engineering is the easiest bit. The hardest bit is actually building something that people need. And if you build in isolation, by the time you release, you've left 70% of the market that need whatever you're working on. And yeah, that's what I've seen.
Okay, thank you for that. And maybe if I can reflect, the last 4 days we have had IFF, and they bring a lot of fintechs here. And I do believe the fintechs are the users who are going to provide now the innovative services on top of a MojaLoop platform. To move on, so we have the software, we have a product, we have deployed it and managed to solve the problem of DFSPs to onboard, and even translate it to the market, how it serves that. But how do we achieve all that? How do we seamlessly run from step one to a working product? When we met with Elisangela, she was project coordinator for IPS at the Banco do Cabo Verde, at the Central Bank of Cape Verde. And she transitioned into Africanenda solely because she can bring the project management aspect into their local project. And so I think she's the best placed person to tell us, how do you manage all that so that quality is built not in silos, but as a progressive principle throughout your project?
Yes, thank you, Tulu. Before that, let me say that I'm feeling excused about my English, okay? So, but I just want to make a comment first that regarding this language challenge, we made a POC on 2024 where we had this challenge of language, but since we at that time we've got Africanenda and TitsaWorks to come from so far to help us in Cabo Verde. We don't got to complain about the issue language, so we managed to solve this challenge. Through all this process, quality for Cabo Verde and for Banco de Cabo Verde, I think it will be measured in terms of the kind of capacity building that we can deploy in the country. The knowledge, the quality of the knowledge transfer we can deploy during all this process to do it, as you said, all these things. It's about quality, yes, but we need to ensure that in our country we can get much knowledge and quality knowledge to support the system before after this project. And also, I would appoint a second item that would be to build the foundation for the fintech ecosystem, so we can ensure that from the end of the project forward, we have proper conditions to sustain the system, the infrastructure. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we have time for one or two questions, but does any of you want to add on to the discussion what we, yes, promise, and Mr. Berete?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to add on the fintech things that they have mentioned. I'm a firm believer that actually, especially us who are working at the switches and the hub operators, in the space of financial inclusion, for me, I believe financial inclusion has two main parts. There's the access to finance that the banks has already done, like they have already recruited people, they are using their system. And as we come as more as providing empowerment, like we are empowering them to now exchange their funds instantly and everything. And that's where I build my my point where like fintech, I believe fintechs are the ones that are going to drive this financial inclusion even more, because in the empowerment part, it's more on what people do with access to finance. Now that they have access to finance, now that we have Momo, we have banks, they have acquired everyone. And then we need to build like infrastructure that will help even these innovators like fintech now to help even people in different sectors, agriculture, health, and others, insurance, to make sure that they can actually build on that, leverage on that infrastructure to drive more financial inclusion. So I believe that what we do, just as we were mentioning, especially in terms of quality product that we lay out on or roll out on the market, we just need to make sure it's something that even others can actually build on top of it and also drive more financial inclusion. That is what I wanted to add on.
Thank you. I wanted just to highlight something I'm trying to do at my end by leading this project for Guinea. I'm just trying to measure the quality within 5 dimensions by leading the project in Guinea. I'm looking at it at the technical side, how it has been done, the operational side, availability, the adoption as well, I will monitor, the governance side to make sure that those who can take decisions to make things happen are around the table, and how I can have impact after implementing the system. So my main concern is not if the system will work. I don't have any doubt, because in other countries, it has been working. My concern as the team leader in Guinea on the project is how can I deliver value to the market by deploying this project. So I'm looking at it at those various dimensions to make sure that at the end of the day, when we will say, oh, we are now live, after few times, we can see that we have done right to choose this platform. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And yes, Mr. Haire. Sorry, I said 2 questions, I'll reduce it to 1 because I still have to work with Plun after this.
So thank you very much for the wonderful presentation and discussion. I am Hamza Kaire from the Bank of Somaliland. My question is about quality implementation for countries beginning their, interoperability journey right now. What rollout strategies help ensure quality implementation without disrupting the existing mobile money ecosystems? Thank you very much.
I can try answer that. There's there's no formula, exact formula on what strategies to implement, especially for anyone trying for the first time. But based on each jurisdiction, you can find there are some big players, if you interrupt them, can cause some financial issues in the market. Or you can look, the big players may be, first of all, resistant to implementing something different because they're already making enough revenue. They are resistant to change. The second strategy from the big players' perspective, you can speak to those who are agile and they will move the masses. If you get big players who are easily convinced, you win. Second strategy you can find out from my view is players within the ecosystem that are hungry. They're not big. They just want to take their niche from the market, grow their share from maybe 10% to 20%, and they see you. Those also will help. So that's a first strategy, target big players, first 2 or 3 or 4, see anyone who bites, awesome, go to the middle players. Then there's always the small players that are always looking for the advantage. Those ones are so agile. Yes, they will give you, maybe they control 10% of the entire market, but they will help move the needle. So there's no specific strategy that I have seen that's on paper that if you use this formula, it will work. Depends on each nuances for each jurisdiction, but you have to look at it and say, okay, who can I work with that will help me move the needle?
Just to add one comment on this, what I think is key is to bring all the stakeholders around the table, let them talk with you, listen, and find the best way to do it. There is no, like he has said, a proper or a particular options, but listen to your market, call the stakeholders, speak with them, and find your way. Thank you.
Sorry, 30 seconds promised, then Elisangela will close for us.
Yeah, what I wanted to add also on that, for me, it's not an answer to what he asked. For me, it's like, I see this system that you're implementing as empowering also other markets. So if there's a monopoly in your country, I see this as an opportunity now to empower even other institutions, and that's where actually the regulators come in. You don't have to say, okay, I don't want to disrupt these guys. You just have to make sure you are deploying something that will bring change, empower others also to compete. You are not telling their users to go other way in other companies, but you're just giving everyone a playground to compete. That is how I see it. Thank you.
Yes, and just to add, thank you for your comment. In Cape Verde, I can speak on our example. In Cape Verde, interoperability is something studied in law. It's not something that you got to choose if you want to deploy a system, a payment system in the country. So it could be a strategy too. It's not something to choose. It's that where regulators got to step in. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for your wonderful insights. We really appreciate. As we end in 20 seconds, we did a scene with the national operator in Benin. He did a MojaLoop hackathon late last year, and there were amazing results. And some of the winners were able to join us for this convening. So I'll ask Prince, Rebecca, and Chancel to stand up. I know when you walk around, you see many of us who are older. You know, if you see my hair, it will tell you my age. So the future is very safe in these hands, guys. Well, congratulations, guys.